As you may have heard yesterday, the U.S. added 431,000 jobs in March, bringing unemployment down to 3.6%. That's a pandemic-era low. But those numbers only tell part of the story. For more on what's ahead for Americans and the economy, I'm joined by Robin Farzad. He's the host of Public Radio's Full Disclosure podcast, which examines business and culture. It's great to have you here in the studio. And so, Robin, we should say this is an exceptionally strong March jobs report. But White House officials I've talked to are all too aware that Americans' perceptions of the economy matter more than strong numbers on a piece of paper. And perceptions right now are so colored by inflation and high gas prices.
Yeah, if I were an alien kind of dropping down and telling you that unemployment is at 3.5%, you'd be running victory laps. Look, 11 straight months of 400,000 plus jobs created. That's the best clip, I think, since the end of the Great Depression. But, inflation, gas prices, the war premium abroad, maybe the specter of a recession. And unfortunately, outside of the theoretical, the gas price print is something that you see every day. It's emblazoned on your general sense of cost. The grocery cart basket, what you're paying for rent. Rents are super expensive in some markets, and housing is also very unattainable for many Americans.
And there also is this notion that, it's a great thing that more people have jobs. It's a great thing that more people are getting paid better wages, but yet that also adds to inflation.
That's right. They want a not too hot, not too cold market. You could also be the Biden administration and saying wages are up, 5.5%. But the problem is inflation is up closer to 8%, right? And you don't have to, again, subscribe to the theoretical to know you're not keeping up with inflation. Right now, for better or for worse, the default wage for a lot of service sector workers in restaurants where people are begging them to come back is closer to $15.
Wow.
That wasn't done by Congress or by fiat or by anything, but just by dint of how slow it's been to hire workers to convince them to come back after the Great Resignation. And yes, invariably that's going to lead to capital I inflation.
What about the housing market? Are we sort of on the precipice of a housing bubble again, given how high prices are for houses across the board?
It's definitely frothy when you think about people foregoing home inspections, these ridiculous stories we're hearing
about. Not quite a
about.
Bubble, but a little frothy.
Stalking people who may or may not list their homes. And yet the systemic outliers that we had in the Wall Street crash in 2007, 2008 are probably not there. You have Federal Reserve stress tests, but certainly a lot of buyers out there are fetishizing this idea that housing prices can just keep going up double digits every year. In this case, I think it's up to 19% on average. And that just defies economic physics. And the question is, how are they going to handle the letdown after this? Are they going to say, well, if I have negative equity, I'm going to walk away from this? And if a lot of people kind of decide to sell, do they end up selling at a discount? And then do you see a housing bust, if not an outright crash?
So what more can the administration, what more can the Fed do to address any of these issues? No president has direct control over the cost of gas. The Fed's trying to raise interest rates. That might not be enough to sort of wrangle the inflationary pressure. What more can be done? It's a limited sort of toolkit.
And yet, this is probably the most micromanaged economy in American history. You used to have the threat of failure and bankruptcy and depression and everything. And the modern Federal Reserve, by taking rates to negative levels and to zero and to having to ratchet them back up, it's like really managing a reservoir. It's far removed from the natural lake that the economy was. And while we might not get bread lines and soup kitchen and destitution to the extent we did during the Depression, you certainly have problems coming out of it. You have inventory problems, inflationary problems, housing not affordable for a generation of Americans. And we didn't even mention the stock market.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that in the minute that we have left. Stock market.
It's done so well during this pandemic, which is paradoxical, but people have embraced risk assets. If you're privileged enough to have been sitting on cash and dry powder, you have a wealth effect. You could look at your 401k, you could look at your Roth, your stock portfolio and say, wow, that's great. Problem is, again, millennials, other people who are trying to save for a home, who are trying to pay off academic debt. And now with inflation, they're always feeling so chronically behind. And there has to be a bill to pay for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Robin Farzad, great to have you here. Thanks so much for your insights.
My pleasure, Jeff. Thank you.
Sure.